Willie Walsh is the International Air Transport Association Director General. I asked him if Boeing can survive the damage to its reputation.
Well, I believe it can survive, and I believe they are taking the right measures now to address the problems they've had. But it is causing significant frustration with airlines who are not getting deliveries of the aircraft that they have ordered. I think most airlines have now recognized that this will probably go on for some time and are factoring that into their growth plans over the next couple of years, but very frustrating for the industry.
You talked about problems with delivery there. Obviously, Boeing, along with Airbus, the two main players, both with sort of supply chain issues. Do you think it's time to widen the pool, if you like, diversify the industry?
Well, I think we've got to recognise the disruption to the supply chain as we went through the COVID crisis, and rebuilding that supply chain, I think, has been difficult and has certainly taken a lot longer than people had expected. The good news, I suppose, it's not getting worse. The bad news is, it's still going to continue for some time. So we're waiting to see some greater clarity from the major manufacturers around when they believe they will have their supply chain addressed. But our view is it will continue through this year, next year, and maybe even for another year or so.
Do you think there is space, though, for other contenders in the market? China, for example, has its passenger jet, the Comac C919. That launched a new route this week, seemingly going from strength to strength. Do you think companies like that could be a new global player?
I think in time Comac will be. So the C919 has now been in commercial service with China Eastern. I think they've got 6 aircraft operating commercially. The aircraft looks great. I visited it when it was on display at the Singapore Air Show. China's clearly very determined to be a key player in the global market, and I think in time they will be, but it will take some time. I think they've got to go through a significant process of certification, not just within China, but in the US and in Europe, and that is going to be a difficult process. So I think 10, 15 years would not be unreasonable, but it is going to be a key player in the future.
So the C919, one of the planes that have been tested using biofuels, Virgin, another company that did a test using that. But we are still quite a long way away from the industry being sustainable, aren't we? What does it need to get there?
Yeah, you're quite right. We have a determination to get to net zero in 2050. Key to that will be the use of sustainable aviation fuel. This year, we're seeing significant growth, but it'll still only represent less than 1%, about 0.5, 0.6% of the total fuel required. So we need to see significant ramp up in production, and that will require, government policy frameworks that will support the production. We're seeing very positive developments in the United States. And to some degree in places like Singapore, less so in Europe, where the European approach has been to try and force people to use the fuel. But forcing people to use something that isn't available doesn't really make it a lot of sense. So we're calling on governments and major fuel suppliers, to look at greater investment and support for the production facilities of sustainable aviation fuel.
We are seeing more people travelling, though, aren't we? Heathrow Airport, London's Heathrow, for example, recording record passenger numbers for May. Do you think aviation is now back?
Yes, without question. I think the demand signals are very strong. I think that period of shutdown during the crisis really did bring home to people the value of aviation, the value of travel, the benefit that people get both from business and individually from travelling around the world. We're expecting record number of passengers flying in 2024, just under 5 billion. And the outlook for the years ahead is also positive. So, we're back above where we were in 2019. Profitability is improving. Still a long way to go to ensure the industry is financially sustainable and also critically environmentally sustainable.